Have you ever heard of the MTHFR gene variant and wondered what the buzz is all about? The MTHFR gene variant has become quite a hot topic in the world of genetics and personalized health. And today we're going to break down what it really means for you. Understanding your genetics is a powerful step towards optimizing your health, and the MTHFR gene is a key player really in how our bodies process nutrients. Some people refer to it as the mother of all genes when it comes to health and wellness, because it influences a process called methylation, which affects everything from detoxification and energy production to mood and immune function. In this video, we'll dive into what the MTHFR gene is, the most common variants, and how these can impact your health, and the practical steps you can take, whether it's dietary changes, supplements, or lifestyle adjustments to support your body's unique needs. So, if you're ready to take a closer look at your genetic blueprint and how it could be influencing your health, stick around. By the end of this video, I hope you'll have a clearer understanding of whether the MTHFR gene variant is something that you should be paying attention to and how you can take actionable steps towards better health. Now let's start with the basics. What exactly is the MTHFR gene? MTHFR stands for methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. That's quite a mouthful, right? Now don't worry, we're going to break it down in a way that makes sense. The MTHFR gene provides instructions for making an enzyme called methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. And this plays a crucial role in a process called methylation. That's a word you're going to be hearing a lot. Methylation is a vital biochemical process that happens in our bodies billions of times per second. Think of it like a biological switch that turns on and off key functions in our cells, affecting everything from DNA repair and detoxification to neurotransmitter production and immune response. One of the critical roles of the MTHFR enzyme is that it helps to convert folic acid from our diet into its active form known as methylfolate. And methylfolate is essential for the production of neurotransmitters, things like serotonin and dopamine, and for keeping homocysteine levels in check, which is important for heart health, immune health, and much more. Now, without enough active methylfolate in the body, your body's going to struggle with various processes, and it could lead to a whole array of different health issues. And this is why the MTHFR gene is so often referred to as the master gene for health, because it affects such a wide array of functions, from brain health and cardiovascular health to even detoxification. But here's where it gets really interesting. Not all MTHFR genes are created equal. There are different versions, or variants they're sometimes called, of this gene. And some of these variants can impact how well your body performs that process called methylation. Now let's dive into what these variants are and what they might mean for your health. Genes come in different forms called variants. And when it comes to the MTHFR gene, the most commonly discussed variants are the C677T and A1298C. If you have the C677T variant, this seemingly small change can actually have a big impact. If you inherit two copies of this variant, one from your mom, one from your dad, this is known as homozygous, and the MTHFR enzyme's activity is going to be reduced by about 60 to 70%, which is major. This reduction is going to affect how efficiently the body can process folate, and it's going to lead to elevated levels potentially of homocysteine, which is a marker associated with cardiovascular issues. And that's the most extreme situation, but there are other versions to be aware of. You can have the heterozygous form of the C677T, meaning you got it from one parent, and you're looking at a 35 to 40% reduction in activity. Then with the A1298C variant of the gene, the homozygous form is going to mean a 30 to 40% reduction in enzyme activity, and the heterozygous, so if you got it from one parent, is going to be a 15 to 20% reduction. Then if you got the C677T from one parent and the A1298C from the other, this is called compound heterozygous, and it means a 40 to 50% reduction in enzyme activity. And finally, there's what we call the normal or wild type, known as C677C and A1298A, and these have no reduction in enzyme activity at all, so these people got kind of lucky in that regard. I'll put a chart up here as well of how common each of these variants are in the overall population and in various ethnicities. You'll see that both the C677T and A1298C variants are more common amongst Hispanic and Asian populations. Specifically, the C677T homozygous variant, which leads to a significant reduction, that 60 to 70% reduction in enzyme activity, is much more prevalent amongst these groups. So this suggests that individuals in these populations could have a higher predisposition to conditions associated with impaired methylation, things like elevated homocysteine and cardiovascular disease, or complications during pregnancy, which is really concerning. Given these variations, public health strategies around folate supplementation might need to be adjusted for different populations and ethnicities. There might be a greater need to focus on the active form of folate, methylfolate, rather than synthetic folic acid, which individuals with these variants might not be able to convert efficiently, and it can become really problematic, especially for pregnant mothers and children. And we'll get deeper into that in just a minute. Remember, having an MTHFR variant doesn't necessarily mean you're going to develop a health condition, but it can suggest higher risk or predisposition, especially combined with other genetic factors or lifestyle or environmental factors. One of the most talked about issues related to MTHFR variants is the potential for these elevated homocysteine levels. Homocysteine is an amino acid in the blood, and high levels have been associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease, things like heart attack and stroke. The C677T variant, particularly when it's homozygous, is linked to higher homocysteine levels, which can occur when the body's ability to convert from folate into the active form methylfolate has been reduced because you don't have enough of that enzyme to make the conversion. But it doesn't stop there. This reduced methylation capacity can also affect a bunch of different bodily functions. There's growing evidence linking these MTHFR variants, especially the C677T, to conditions like depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. And this is because methylation is also crucial for producing neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which are going to regulate mood. And for women, having an MTHFR variant can also sometimes lead to complications during pregnancy, like recurrent miscarriages or neural tube defects in babies. This is particularly relevant for those with the C677T or compound heterozygous variants, because these are going to have the lowest levels of enzyme activity, and they might need the more active forms of folate, like methylfolate, rather than the synthetic folic acid. Methylation also plays a role in detoxifying the body from harmful substances. An impaired MTHFR enzyme could affect how well the body processes and eliminates toxins, potentially leading up to a buildup of environmental toxins and heavy metals. So some studies have actually shown a link between MTHFR variants and things like chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And reduced methylation can also affect cellular energy production, so it could contribute to chronic fatigue. And MTHFR variants might also impact immune function and inflammation levels, potentially influencing things like autoimmune conditions or increasing susceptibility to chronic inflammatory diseases. But please don't freak out about this. It's so important to note that having an MTHFR variant is not a diagnosis of any actual health condition. It simply means that there's a higher predisposition, that you're more at risk, and how much this gene actually affects your actual health situation is going to depend on a lot of factors like your diet, lifestyle, and your overall health. It's about seeing your genetics as one piece of a much larger health puzzle, and that whole puzzle is very influenceable by your choices. Now, one of the most effective ways to support methylation is through your diet. Focus on foods rich in natural folate, like leafy greens and things like avocados and broccoli and legumes. These are going to provide the body with the raw materials that it needs for efficient methylation. Naturally, not all sources of folate are going to be perfect for everyone. Maybe you're prone to kidney stones, so you shouldn't go overboard on spinach. Or maybe you have a hard time digesting legumes. But I'm sure you can find a source of folate that is going to work for you. And for those with MTHFR variants, it's also important to consider avoiding synthetic folic acid, which is often added to things like fortified foods and even some lower quality supplements. Instead, look for the active form of folate, called 5-MTHF, which is more easily utilized by the body. And don't forget other B vitamins like B12 and B6, because these are going to be supportive of healthy methylation, and they can also be found in foods like eggs and poultry and fish, bee pollen, and algae even, like spirulina and chlorella, two of my favorites. You can also supplement with methylated B vitamins like methylfolate and methylcobalamin. These forms are going to bypass the need for conversion in the body and can be more effectively used for those who aren't able to convert so well from folate into methylfolate because they have that reduced MTHFR enzyme activity. And it's also worth considering supplements like riboflavin, which can help the MTHFR enzyme function, and N-acetylcysteine and glutathione for supporting detoxification. Now, beyond diet and supplements, your lifestyle also plays a huge role in supporting your health when managing these MTHFR variants. Here are some key areas to focus on. First, stress management. High stress levels can really negatively impact your methylation, so incorporating stress-reducing practices like meditation and deep breathing exercises and yoga and spending time in nature can be really beneficial. I also love adaptogens like reishi mushroom and ashwagandha, gynostema, schizandra, black ginger, and lion's mane here. Physical activity can support methylation and the overall detoxification process as well. You also want to avoid environmental toxins, so try to reduce your exposure to toxins like pesticides and heavy metals, and also some synthetic chemicals that you're going to find in a lot of personal care and cleaning products. Your body's ability to detox might be compromised if you have one of these MTHFR variants, so minimizing your exposure is going to be key. And good quality sleep is essential for proper methylation and for overall health. Shoot for 7 to 9 hours a night of restorative sleep and maintain a consistent sleep schedule, and consider having a relaxing bedtime routine to help you transition out of whatever chaos your day included into a really peaceful night's sleep. Supporting your gut health is also crucial when managing MTHFR variants. A healthy gut is better at absorbing nutrients and then is going to support overall methylation. Incorporating things like plenty of fiber and fermented foods like kimchi and sauerkraut, and considering a high-quality probiotic to maintain a healthy gut microbiome are all going to be good ideas here. It's important to remember that managing MTHFR is not just about finding a quick fix, but rather having a healthy, holistic approach. It involves understanding how your genetics interact with your diet, lifestyle, environment, and then you can make informed decisions on how to support your body's unique needs. Now let me know in the comments if any of this rings true for you and what your experience with the MTHFR gene has been. And before you go, here's a link to a video that I think you'd enjoy watching next, and here's one the YouTube algorithm thinks you'd enjoy. And there's a link to our website if you'd like to try some of those powerful stress-reducing adaptogens. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time.